Hello, hello.
Hello all.
Happy New Year's.
Same to you guys.
Just make sure.
Mark is still somewhere hot, obviously.
You must be back in Aruba.
You're feeling good, Arv?
Yeah, feeling really good. I'd say I'm close to 85, 90% there. So it's week 6 on Wednesday.
Well,
Did a good job.
I think so. I hope so.
Great.
looks like a pretty short one for today.
Yeah, looks like 5, I guess, my count. I see John is with us now.
Well, good afternoon.
Hi, we're number 1 on your list today.
Okay. So Joel, you're on mute there.
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. I'm just going to ask that everyone remain muted until we get started with the applications to be considered here.
Okay, so it is 3 o'clock. So I think we can get today's committee meeting underway. Have a couple of resolutions here to pass before we get the meeting going. First resolution being resolved that the committee adjustment hearing is now come to order at 3 p.m. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll move that.
Moved by Suzanne, seconded by
I'll second
John.
that.
by John, I see there. Okay,
Okay.
guess all in favor, please just raise your hands. Thank you. Second resolution, resolved that this committee adjustment consent is hereby adopt the minutes of the meeting held on December the 13th, 2021. I need a mover, please.
I'll move that.
Okay, moved by Les Newton, seconded by
I'll second.
Suzanne. Ryu, all in favor? Ms. Ray, thank you. Okay, before we get started today, are there any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest for the applications before the committee today?
Not for me.
No.
See none. John, no. And
None.
Mark? I don't know what Mark is doing there.
I think he's having trouble with his audio. He had actually called me about 5 minutes ago and he was getting the picture but no audio. So we may have to do hand signals today.
Okay. Do you know if he can hear us?
I'm not sure. Let me just text him.
I will reach out through chat on here just to see if Mark can get back to us.
Oh, he said I have to download Chrome to get sound.
Okay, while Mark's doing that, we still have a quorum here without Mark really participating, so we'll move forward with the first application for today. And it's file number A38-21, 65 Forest Avenue. It's submitted by Robert Lediard and Jayne Skema, owners of the property. I take it they're with us. I think you can unmute.
Can I give you the prompt to unmute there? There we go.
Thank you.
Great, welcome.
Thank you.
So I'm going to read your application and then I'll let you speak to the committee members exactly what you're planning on doing here, okay?
Okay.
So file number 838-21, 65 Forest Avenue, Town of Wasaga Beach, County of Simcoe. Subject lands of a frontage of approximately 18.32 meters, 60.1 feet along Forest Avenue and a depth of approximately 30.46 meters, 99.95 feet, and an area of approximately 558 square meters, 6,006.26 square feet. Variance requested, application for minor variance 838-21 was submitted by Robert Lediard and Jayne Skema, owner of the subject lands. The application requests relief from Section 4, Residential 1, Zone of Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2003-60 as amended. Specifically, the applicant requests relief from Section 4.3.9 to increase the maximum permitted lot coverage from 35% to 39.8%. The variance requested would recognize the existing 10.03 square meter, 108 square foot shed, which in addition to the existing dwelling and garage would result in a total lot coverage of 39.8%, whereas the maximum of 35% lot coverage is permitted. Other applications of property subject to this application for minor variance was previously subject to a minor variance application 826-17. Okay, so over to Jane and Robert to explain to the committee members what your exact plans are here.
We had a garage built and it was completed in 2021. And we had a small shed, a garden shed, and it is on the property and we want to fix this and make it correct and make it right with the town. It is a garden shed. There's no electricity, no water, nothing. It's just got a lock on it with garden tools in it. So we would like to keep that shed there because I understand that we are allowed 2 accessory units, 2 accessory buildings on the property, and it's just a teeny tiny shed.
Okay, thank you. Questions from committee members? Les?
I have no questions.
Suzanne?
No, did the bylaws change from 1 accessory building to 2?
If that's a question for town staff, so the
Yeah.
bylaw has prescribed for 2 detached accessory structures to be permitted with a combined area not to exceed 65 square meters or 700 square feet.
Okay, so is that new or is that something that has always
That would have been
been?
approved through the 2003 60 bylaw.
Okay, that was the only question, sorry.
John, any questions?
None at this time, Arv.
And I'm not sure if Mark can join us, is with us here yet or not.
I'm actually seeing Mark just enter the waiting room from a separate account, so I'm going to omit that profile and see if we can get him to connect through audio.
Yeah, he said that they're working on it and he can't hear us. We can see him, but he can't hear us.
He's got his mute button on. So.
There he's off.
We'll give him a second to see if he can connect.
Yeah, can you give us a thumbs up, Mark, if you can hear us? I wonder.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Oh,
can.
Well,
Loud and
welcome.
Sorry,
Welcome.
I got a new computer and I had to download the sound. So
Thank you.
Thanks.
I've got a couple of questions I have for planning staff. It wasn't clear to me. So what is the combined square footage of the shed and the garage? Do we have that number?
It would be 388 plus 109.
so I think it's 496, it looks like.
496. Okay, so that's well within the 700 square feet.
Yeah.
Another question for planning staff, just for my clarity. I thought anything over 100 square feet required a building permit. Is that not the case?
So it would be 108 square feet. Anything larger than 108 square feet would be required for a building permit. And in this case, being 108 square feet on the dot, I don't believe it does require a building permit through my discussions with the building department.
Oh, because I thought the notion was always 100 square feet, but have things changed? Or?
They haven't changed. I believe it's always been anything larger than 108. That's frequent. That was the standard that we've always applied. So I have to double check that with the building department.
Okay. I see there's a letter that's been written in by a neighbor across the street, and they raise a point that when the committee first approved the application for the garage at the time, that one of the conditions was to remove that shed. Again, I'll refer back to planning staff. They looked into this. Was that in fact one of the recommendations?
So it was a recommendation within that approval of application 82617. So essentially what happened is to clear that condition, essentially there's 2 options you can go through. So there can be a site visit to confirm whether or not the condition has been fulfilled. Or in this instance, at the time of building permit submission, the site plan that was submitted did not reflect that there was an additional detached structure on the property. So I think at the time of releasing the building permit, planning and building staff were satisfied of the site plan that was submitted with the application that did not show a detached accessory structure. Whether or not that structure was removed, I think is not clear at this point. So based on that, there should have been a follow-up inspection, which did not take place. But with the understanding of the site plan that was submitted, and if that was submitted in being truthful in its entirety, planning staff and building staff at that time were under the assumption that that condition would have been fulfilled and met, and therefore the building permit was released.
Again, just is there not a final inspection completed once the completed?
There would have been an final inspection, which was granted. I believe it was in May of 2021.
May 19th.
Okay, so the question to the applicants, why was that shed not removed at the time, if that was what it was agreed upon with the approval of the garage? It was over the 35% coverage at that time.
At the time, we had absolutely nowhere to put the contents of that shed. Our other garage was absolutely jam-packed, and we still had gardening tools, and part of the construction started in the fall of 2020, and the completion did not take place until May of 2021. So like I said, we just needed somewhere to keep stuff in the interim.
So now that the garage has been built, is there not enough room in the garage to house the shovels and garden tools?
Not really. I wanted a little bit more accessible to locate to the garden. Gardening is new to me this time around, and I just want to keep those kinds of things there and separate from the contents of the garage.
Any other questions from the committee members?
Just more of a comment than a question, that with the previous application not being fulfilled, it brings this one as a real questionable application.
Well, we're trying to rectify the situation with the planning department. We've been compliant with Joelle and filing in a timely fashion. It's just a small shed, but it is.
Any other comments from committee members? I see none. Joel, has anybody else written in or want to comment on this application?
So planning staff have received an additional letter from the property owners of 63 Forest Avenue, being Pinas-Tilitano. And I'm going to read the contents of that letter. There's also some pictures that accompany the letter as well. So I'm going to read the contents of the letter. So to whom it may concern, please take the following information as my written submission of objection for the variance request for 83821 65 Forest Avenue, Wasaga Beach. I currently live at 63 Forest Avenue and have a few concerns with the above mentioned variance. A previous minor variance application, 82617, was approved on November 20th, 2017, with conditions regarding the said shed that is now being considered in the December 30th, 2021 variance application. On November 20th, 2017, the homeowners applied for a minor variance to construct the current garage on the address noted above. The approval of the permit was with conditions. Please see Schedule A, page 1, number 2, and number 4. And essentially what number 2 and number 4 are the notices of decision that were associated with that application, which note that the maximum lot coverage not exceed 38%, and that the 2 accessory structures currently located on the lands be removed. Back to the letter there. The current structure in question was to be removed in order to build a detached garage. The maximum lot coverage was not to exceed 38%. The current variance is asking that the lot coverage be 39.8%. The original variance for the build was approved on November 20th, 2017. The building permit was dated May of 2020, and the completion of this act was completed and/or inspection on May 18th, 2021. A final inspection was set to be completed in May 2021. Please see Schedule B that shows an inspection had taken place at the mentioned address, which was a year from the building permit data and 7 months from the request for 83821 variance. And I'll refer to I'll refer to Schedule B within the letter there, which is essentially the building permit final inspection, which does note that a final inspection was approved. I'm just going to continue reading the letter. Pina writes that my concerning question is that if a final inspection was indeed done on May 2021, why was the owner of the property not asked to remove the shed, as that was part of the approval for the original application? And FOI invested in effort to see who the inspector was and if the owner has been asked to remove the shed or if it was an oversight of the inspection. I'm currently waiting for the response. As for the location and position of the shed, please view Schedule C, pictures number 1 through 3, and I'll quickly go over those. When the new structure was being constructed, the shed was placed on the side of the new build. This is going to be picture 1. Shed pad is a description, and it's dated September 24th, 2021. This is picture number 2. And the description is shed support, dated September 25th, 2021. And picture number 3, sorry, actually was going in the wrong order there. Picture number 3. Distance between the shed and the house. And you can also see that the shed is very close to the house. That's what the description within the picture notes. So I'm going to go back to the contents of the letter. When the new structure was being constructed, the shed was placed on the side of the new build. The new variance indicates that no grade has changed, Unfortunately, I would have to disagree, as the water flow now from this property travels to our property as their lot is higher than ours. They moved the grade at the back of the lot, and there's now still water and ponding in the rear of their shed. The shed was moved within the days of September 23rd through September 26th, 2020, and no bylaw and/or inspector paid a visit to ask why the shed was still erected. Once reviewing the drawing that was attached to the mail out for the town, I did have concerns with the measurements on the plan and would suggest that bylaw come by and take the accurate measurements needed. In closing, we are just looking for the approvals of permits and variances to be made and followed through. I would like to be informed of the final decision regarding this submission. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call me. And that's best regards from the property owner. So I can go over any pictures that were accompanied by the letter if the committee members need to revisit those, or I can go over the contents of the letter itself.
Included in our submission, the dimensions of the shed and the distances from the house and property line were included, along with the overall square footage of that shed. So it is, you'll find at least 4 feet from the house, 4 feet from 63 Forest Avenue, and I think about 8 feet from the rear property line. Also, the grade at 63 Forest Avenue over the years has been raised so that it's a good 8 inches above our property line. And existing today where the shed is sitting, the water from their property actually flows down into our property, which is about 8 inches below theirs. So it's literally impossible for water to flow from our property to theirs.
If I can just add in that, I don't know how to add a picture in this, but I can show you a picture of their shed pad that is significantly higher than our property. So I don't know how to show pictures on here. I also have pictures. I know you can click and bring it up, but I'm not sure how to do that.
Any other further questions from committee members regarding this? So Joel, I was a little confused by that letter. Maybe I missed something. Was it suggested that the shed was rebuilt?
Just simply moved and put on a different pad. That's all.
On concrete blocks. It's not even really on a pad.
With screenings below it, so to prevent moisture from perhaps rotting the wood underneath. Other than that, it's not a concrete pad. It's just simply on concrete blocks, and it's the same shed. Same shed as we've had since 2007. It's a garden shed.
Further to your point, Arv, I believe that was the concern from the property owner at 63 Forest, was whether or not it was the original shed or it was an additional shed that has now been located on the property.
It was the original shed relocated to that side of the property. And we took great care to make sure that it fell within the property line and dimensions. At 108 square feet, like I say, 4 feet from our house and 4 feet from 63 Forest Avenue and 7.5 feet from the rear of the property, which is Wasaga distribution property. We were well within the guidelines of that, well within the guidelines of a garden shed also.
I understand that. I guess obviously my concern is that had you taken the shed apart or removed the shed and then come back to the committee with this application that you want to build an additional shed or a second storage unit on the property, personally, I view this a lot differently than the fact that the condition of the 2017 application was that it was to be removed, which you had agreed to at that time, and that did not take place. That was my closing comment on that. Any other questions or comments from any of the public, Joel?
I did not receive any additional comments from the public, but I have received a comment from the building department. It's actually a recommendation as a condition, if I can read that to the committee members. So the building department has, as a condition of the variance, requested that should the committee choose to grant the variance, that the building department conduct a site inspection after May 2nd to determine that the placement of the building, subject to the request for variance, does not negatively impact the existing grading so as to adversely affect the neighboring property, and that if remedial works are required, that they be installed within 30 days of the site inspection to the satisfaction and standards of the building department.
That comment just came in, Joel?
That came in for this morning. That's a recommendation as a condition by the building department.
Okay, if there's no other comments or on this application, we'll close the formal part of the meeting. And the committee members, we can have our little discussion about this application before we just render a decision.
Can I say one more thing, if you don't mind? So in 2000,
Sorry, but the formal part of the meeting is over.
okay, thank you.
I'll just have to keep up the protocol here. Any other questions from the committee members or discussions with committee members? I see. Go ahead, John.
I'm still a tiny bit confused here, and I just want to reiterate what has transpired. There was an existing shed. There's an application for a new shed, conditional upon the existing shed to be removed, and such said shed still has not been removed. Is that correct?
The shed in question should have been removed in 2017 when the first variance was approved to build the garage. Okay.
Right.
What happened is that the shed was not removed as per the condition back in 2017. So now the applicants have come back before the committee asking to increase the lot coverage to let the shed remain.
To accommodate. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. So do we have a committee member that will move this application forward?
I'll move the application forward.
And seconded, we need a seconder.
I second it.
I'll second. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so moved by Les Newton, seconded by John Smay. Okay, so we'll have her vote on this application in for approval. I guess I'm just trying to think with this additional comment that was added with the by the building department there, that we would need a mover and a seconder to add that comment to the recommendations that are before the committee today. So do I have a mover to add the planning department's comment?
I'll move to add the planning departments or the building
Moved
department.
by Les Newton to add the planning department's comment. Any seconder for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Mark Rutan. Thank you. Okay, so now we have a motion to approve this application, and that will take a formal vote by all the committee members. So starting with Suzanne.
I'm not in favor of the application based on that the original one did not get followed. So my vote would be a no.
Mark.
I have the same feeling that they should have completed what was the original application, and they haven't done what the original was to start with. So I would not be in favor.
John.
I do not support the application and to feel that the original application should have been fulfilled.
And Les.
I, however, support the application, thinking that the people wanted the addition after they found out that they needed the room.
I think I voiced my comments a little bit earlier with, I guess, my disappointment that the previous recommendations were not carried out in the 2017 application, and the proper procedure would have been to remove that building, come back to the committee with a request to put the building back, because now you've changed your mind, you need additional room, and that would have been the proper way to keep this shed on site. So I too do not support this application. So application 838-21 has not been approved by a vote of 4-1. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next application, A01-22, Robinson Road. Application submitted by Jasper Design. Is there someone here from Jasper Design? I see.
Hi,
Sorry, and you are
my name's Shaylee from Jasper.
Sherry?
Shaylee, so it's everyone, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to read your application, and then you can speak to committee members what your plans are here, okay? So it's file number A01-22. It's registration plan, registered plan 6096, part lot 20, registered plan 51R 4206060, part 4. No municipal address has been assigned yet. Located on the south side of Robinson Road, town of Saga Beach, County of Simcoe. The subject lands are frontage approximately 15.24 meters, 50 feet along Robinson Road, and the depth of approximately 45.61 meters, 149.64 feet, in an area of approximately 696.15 square meters, 7,493.28 square feet. Variance requested, application for minor variance A01-22, presented by Jasper Design on behalf of Marilyn and Gary Watts, owner of the subject lands. The application requests relief from section 4 residential type 1 zoning provisions of comprehensive zoning bylaw 2003-16 as amended. Specifically, the applicant requests relief from section 4.3.4 to decrease the minimum required exterior side yard setback from 4.5 meters, 14.76 feet to 2.59 meters, 8.5 feet, the proposed porch and deck encroachments, and for the main dwelling. The variance requested would facilitate the construction of a detached dwelling with an attached porch at the front of the dwelling and an attached deck at the rear of the dwelling. each with a reduced exterior side yard setback of 2.59 meters, 8.5 feet, whereas 4.5 meters wasn't 60 square. Other applications, property subject to this application for minor variance is not currently the subject of other applications under the Planning Act. So over to you to tell the committee members exactly what you're planning on doing here.
Yes, absolutely. So our clients are looking to build a house on this lot. The main things that they're wanting to fit in with the aesthetic of the rest of the neighborhood. And a lot of the neighborhoods or a lot of the other buildings, their houses are quite large houses. So we feel that if we were to build the house that fits on this lot, which would be very long and narrow, it will not fit in. And this is also for a very large family, and they're wanting to live there for a while in Wasaga Beach. So yeah, mainly we just want it to fit in with the rest of the neighborhood and not stick out. So we the maximum permanent size of the building would be 29'6", which is, as many may know, quite narrow. And so we're looking to be able to put on a 35-foot wide building.
Thank you. Questions? Mark, want to start with you? Any questions?
No questions at this time.
Les?
I understand that the reason for the setback was, I guess, a safety measure more than anything else, and they didn't feel that it was a problem in this circumstance. Was that correct?
Are you making a comment to planning staff or to applicant?
Joel's not here, so.
Actually, it's Samantha's.
Samantha's? Okay, maybe Samantha can answer that for me.
Yeah, well, in our comments that we received back from engineering or public works, they'd never mentioned any concerns with safety with regards to the reduced exterior yard setback being requested.
Okay, thank you.
Suzanne, any questions?
Just to kind of continue off of what Les was just saying to Samantha and to the applicant, a day like today being a perfect example of being cognizant that snow wrapping on a corner lot can cause some issues. So has that been taken into consideration as far as with the reduced setback?
Yeah, I think.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know if Samantha has anything to say about it, but it's still a fairly large setback there, but maybe Samantha has a bit more to say on the safety side of it.
Yeah, so generally engineering or public works would give us information, I guess, if there was a concern in terms of the snow piling, and we did not receive any comments with regards to that.
I'm sorry, I think, was there in the application somewhere where it stated and I'm trying to find it, the distance from the driveway?
Here, it appears though there's a buffer of approximately 5.3 meters, 17.39 feet that separates the subject lands from Beatrice Drive.
That's, yeah. Oh, I see it there. Thank you, Art.
That would be in addition to the setback of the building.
But yeah. Okay, good. That was my only concern. Today being a good example of that.
Yes, absolutely. I should have also said that my client is in the meeting. If anyone has any questions directly for him, then feel free to ask.
John, any questions?
And at this time,
And I don't have any questions at this time either. Has anybody written in or called in regarding this application, Samantha?
No, planning staff have not received any comments either in support of or against this application.
Okay, and sorry, was it Shelby? No.
It's okay. Shaylee.
Haley.
Or Shay.
I just
Either
scrolled down. You can't read my own writing.
I get all sorts of things. So,
So Shaylee, have you seen the comments from the planning department regarding this file?
yes, it looks like as long as all other everything else is met, then they're okay with what we have applied for.
Thank you. Okay, as there's no one else that is wanting to comment on this, any more comments from planning staff before we close the formal part of the meeting?
No, I don't think we have any further comments.
I see none, so we'll close the formal part of the meeting. And is there a member who would move this application forward?
I'll move the application forward.
Moved by Suzanne Rio. I need a seconder.
I'll second it. Mark.
Seconded by Mark Rakuten. And so we'll now vote on this application. So let's start with Les.
I support the applications with the conditions.
And John?
I support the application based on the recommendations from the town.
Mark?
I support it with recommendations.
And Suzanne?
I support the application with the recommendations as noted.
And I too support the application with the recommendations. In fact, the committee approves application A01-22, subject to the following conditions being applied. One, that all of the provisions of the zoning bylaw be complied with. Two, that construction of the dwelling, porch, and deck be consistent with what was shown on the plans provided, Appendix 1. Three, that the applicant obtain the necessary NVCA permit approvals and provide confirmation to the satisfaction of the building department. Four, that access to the subject lands be located on Robinson Road and be located a minimum 9 meters from the intersection of Robinson Road and Beaches Drive. Five, that an infill lot grading and drainage plan is submitted by the applicant to the town for review and approval by the building department. Six, that any future development of the subject lands will adhere to the current town of Wasaga Beach standards and policies, specifically the infill lot grading and drainage policy. And seven, that a road occupation permit shall be taken up for any works within the town's right of way. Your application has been approved. And good luck with your build.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Moving on to the next application. We're back to Robinson Road across the street, it looks like. B01-22. Jones Consulting Group, Amanda Hoffman. Is Amanda with us? There she is.
Hello.
Welcome. So you probably know what I'm going to do. I'm going to read your application, then I'm going to let you speak to the committee members. What your plans are here, okay?
Yes, thank you.
It's file B01-22. It's a registered plan 1696 lot 50 north side of Robinson Road. No municipal address has been assigned, town of Wasaga Beach, County of Simcoe. Purpose and effect, the application submitted by the Jones Consulting Group Limited, care of Amanda Hoffman, on behalf of Beacon Ridge Homes Limited, care of Norm Stapley, owner of the subject land. The application proposes to create one new residential building lot for a total of 2 residential building lots. The portion of the property to be severed as shown on survey or sketch as part 2 has a frontage of approximately 15.24 meters, 50 feet, and a depth of approximately 45.67 meters, 149.84 feet, and an area of approximately 695.8 square meters, 7,489.53 square feet. The portion of the property to be retained as shown on survey or sketch as part 1 has a frontage of approximately 15.24 meters, 50 feet, and a depth of approximately 45.68 meters, 149.87 feet, and an area of approximately 696 square meters, 7,491.68 square feet. Other applications, the land subject to this application for consent is not currently the subject of official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, minister's zoning order amendment, or minor variance. Okay, Ms. Hoffman, if you can, it's fairly straightforward here, but if you can speak to the committee members about your plans here.
Yes, thank you. I provided a brief presentation to the planning department, so if they could share that, that would be great.
Sorry, I'm just pulling that open now.
Thank you, Joel. Perfect. Okay, so good afternoon, members of committee. So we represent the owners of the lands located on Robinson Road who have submitted a consent to sever application to create an additional residential lot. Next slide, please. So the current lot area is approximately 1,391 square meters with a frontage of 30.5 meters on Robinson Road. Next slide, please. So the proposed severance will create an additional lot, which will result in the severed lot having an area of 695.8 square meters and a frontage of 15.2 meters. The retained lot will have an area of 696 square meters with a frontage of 15.2 meters. The lands are also serviced with municipal water and sewer. Next slide, please. The town official plan designates the lands as residential, which permits single detached dwellings. The proposed consent meets the intent of the residential designation and conforms with the general criteria of severances for the town. The proposed severance will match the character of the neighborhood as it is located within an established residential area and the proposed lot sizes and frontages are compatible with surrounding lots. In our opinion, the proposal is not anticipated to create a traffic hazard or impact any natural heritage features. Next slide, please. The town zones the lands residential type 1, which permits single detached dwellings. For lots serviced with municipal water and sewer, the minimum frontage is 12 meters and the minimum area is 464.5 square meters. Both the severed and retained lots will meet these requirements. Next slide, please. So to conclude, the proposed application is consistent with the PPS, conforms to the growth plan, county official plan, and town official plan, and will meet the required development standards in the R1 zone. As such, a minor variance is not required for the creation of a new lot. The application will facilitate minor intensification of the lands that is appropriate for the area and will not negatively impact the surrounding uses. The land will utilize full municipal infrastructure and the application represents good planning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Questions from committee members? Les, any questions?
I have no questions at this time.
John?
None at this time.
Mark?
No questions.
Suzanne?
No questions.
So the applicant is aware that there's to my surprise, there's a $25,000, I guess, fine that's levied because there's, I guess, only one set of services to the property now?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yeah, in the conditions of approval. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess just for clarity for me, from Samantha. So to my understanding, there's a bylaw in place in the town that I guess water and sewers are brought in within the past 10 years. So if anyone wants to add an additional service, there's this $25,000 penalty that's imposed.
Yeah, I believe that if the services were constructed within the past 10 years, that the $25,000 penalty would then be applied based on that bylaw.
It's interesting. This is one of the few lots that didn't have the double services on it. And driving down Robinson Road, looks like every other lot has already been preparing for a severance in the future, and they've all got the services already to the lot line. Any reason why your applicant didn't put in the two services at the time, Amanda?
They just recently acquired the lot, so that wasn't, an option. And they did read the conditions and have no concerns, so should be fulfilled easily on their end.
So they're familiar with all the conditions that the planning staff are recommending?
Yes, my client has reviewed all the conditions and has no concerns.
Any other questions from committee members? I see none. Samantha, has anybody written in or called in regarding this application?
Planning staff have not received any comments either for or against for this application.
Okay, so we'll close off the formal part of the meeting. And do we have a committee member that will move this application forward?
I can move it forward.
Moved by John Smay and seconded by?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Suzanne. Thank you. Okay, so we'll have a vote on this application now. Les?
I support the application with the conditions.
And Mark?
I support it with the recommendations.
And Suzanne?
I support the application with the recommendations.
And John?
I too support the application with the recommendations.
And I do also support the application with the following recommendations. In fact, the committee approves consent application B01-22 subject to the following conditions of approval being applied. One, that the applicant provide the following monies to the municipality. A, that all outstanding municipal fees, taxes, and charges, including local improvement charges, be paid out in full. B, that the 5% parkland contribution as provided by the Planning Act be paid as a requirement of the approval of the severance. 2, that the applicant provide a registered reference plan, set a reference plan to show all the parcel to be severed and all the parcel to be retained. 3, that the applicant provide confirmation from Wasaga Distribution, Inc. that acceptable arrangements have been made for the servicing of both lots. Number 4, that the applicant provide confirmation to the town of Wasaga Beach of the location of existing municipal services in relation to the new property line. 5, that the applicant provide municipal water and sewer to both the severed and retained parcels to the specification and location satisfactory to the town of Wasaga Beach. 6, that the applicant pay the $25,000 penalty to the town of Wasaga Beach associated with installing services in a new road as per the road occupation permit form appended to the road occupation permit policy in the town's fees and charges bylaw Schedule N. 7, that all sanitary services have a 200 millimeter clean out inspection port installed at street property line as per town engineering standards drawing 12A. 8, that any future development on individual lots be in accordance with the current town of Wasaga Beach standards as well as the infill lot grading and drainage policy. 9, that a road occupation permit be taken out for any works within the right of way. And number 10, that all conditions of this decision be fulfilled and the documents presented to the planning department for the issuance of the certificate of consent in the period not to exceed 12 months from the date of decision. And your application has been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next application, file number A04-22. It's 85 40th Street South, submitted by Sydney Sousa.
Hi,
Oh, there's Sydney with the little guy.
sick baby, sorry.
Welcome. So I guess you know what I'm going to do here. I'm going to read your application, and I'll let you speak to the committee as to what your plans are here, okay?
Okay, thanks.
So it's file number A04-22, 85 40th Street South, Town of Wasaga Beach, County of Simcoe. Subject lands have a frontage of approximately 15.26 meters, 50.07 feet, and a depth of approximately 64.2 meters, 210.63 feet, and an area of approximately 941.59 square meters, 10,135.19 square feet. Variance requested application provide a variance A04-22 submitted by Sydney Sousa, owner of the subject lands. The application requests relief from Section 4 Residential Type 1 zoning provisions of Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2003-60 as amended. Specifically, the applicant requests relief from Section 4.3.5 to permit an interior side yard setback of 1.73 meters, 5.68 feet, whereas 1.8 meters, 5.91 feet is required. The variance would recognize the existing newly constructed dwelling with an interior side yard setback of 1.73 meters, 5.68 feet for the rear corner located on the southeast side of the property. Other applications, the property subject to this application for minor variance is not currently the subject of other applications under the Planning Act. So, Sydney, looks like someone made a little mistake here.
Yeah, it was supposed to be with the bylaw, but somehow it's over 2 inches. Just on the back corner, that's it.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've seen something like this, but questions from committee members?
No.
I see none. My question is it the builder that made this 2-inch error?
Well, I hope not, we're the builders.
Oh.
No, somewhere on the, between the surveyor and the foundation guy, they're blaming each other.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was going to make I guess a snide comment that if it was a builder's fault, I mean, they should be the one making this application for.
yeah, that's true. No, it was us.
They shouldn't be absorbing the cost of coming before the committee.
Yeah.
Anyways, any other questions from committee members? I see none. Anybody written in or called about this? Samantha, this is your file again?
So we do have one person who's registered for the meeting, Mariah. I'm not sure if she had any comments that she'd like to add.
Or who was it?
Mariah Deller.
Oh, there she is in the bottom there. So She said she wanted to provide comments.
I'm not sure if she wanted to provide comments. She did register just if she
Just
she
to
wants to.
listen. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yes,
other than that, we haven't received any comments for or against.
okay. Sydney, have you seen the recommendations from the planning department with regards to this application?
I don't think so.
Okay, so they've attached some fairly straightforward recommendations here should the committee approve your application. I'll read them out to you since you haven't seen them.
Sure.
One, that all other provisions of the zoning bylaw be complied with. Two, that the variance for interior side yard setback only applies to the existing dwelling, and any future additions to the home comply with the provisions of the zoning bylaw. Three, that any future development of the subject lands will adhere to the current town of Wasaga Beach standards and policies, specifically the infill lot grading and drainage policy. And the fourth one, that a road occupation permit shall be taken out for any work within the town's right of way.
Okay.
Okay, you're okay with those?
Yeah.
Okay, since there are no other comments, any other comments, committee members, before we close off the formal part of the meeting? I see none. So we'll close off the meeting, and do I have a committee member that will move this application forward?
I'll move the application.
Moved by Mark McCann, and seconded.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Suzanne Rue. So now we'll vote on this. Les
I support the applications with the 4 conditions.
and Mark
I support it with the recommendations.
and John.
I support the application with the recommendations from the town.
Suzanne.
I support the application with the recommendations.
I also support the application with the following recommendations. So the committee approves application A04-22 with the following conditions being applied. One, that all other provisions of the zoning bylaw be complied with. Two, that the variance for interior side yard setback only applies to the existing dwelling, and any future additions to the home comply with the provisions of the zoning bylaw. Three, that any future development on the subject lands will adhere to the current town of Wasaga Beach standards and policies, specifically the infill lot grading and drainage policy. And number 4, that a road occupation permit shall be taken out for any work with the town's right of way. Your application has been approved, and good luck with the rest of your construction.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last one for today is A02-22, 16 Middlebrook Road. And application submitted by Marlene Risp. Is Marlene with us? There she
Hello,
is.
can you hear me?
Yes, did I say your name correctly? Last name?
Arispe.
Rispi. Okay, thank you, Marlene. Okay, so I'm going to read your application and I'll let you speak to the committee members what your plans are here, okay?
Okay.
So it's file number A02-22, 16 Middlebrook Road, Town of Wasaga Beach, County of Simcoe. The subject lands have a frontage of approximately 27.43 meters, 90 feet along Middlebrook Road, and a depth of approximately 33.38 meters, 109.51 feet, and an area of approximately 915.61 square meters, 9,855.9 square feet. Variance requested, application for minor variance A02-22 was submitted by Marlene Arispe, owner of the subject lands. The application requests relief from section 3.23 non-complying lots, buildings or structures of comprehensive zoning bylaw 2003-60 to recognize location of existing dwelling with front yard setback of 1.58 meters, 5.18 feet on the southwest portion of the existing dwelling and 0.71 meters, 2.33 feet on the southeast portion of the existing dwelling, and to permit a second floor addition that would maintain the existing building footprint and increase the height from 5 meters, 16.4 feet to 9.6 meters, 31.5 feet. In addition to the above, the application requests relief from section 4, residential type 1 zoning zone, specifically from 4.3.3 to permit the construction of a second floor addition to the existing dwelling, existing single detached dwelling, with a proposed front yard setback of 1.58 meters, 5.18 feet, and 0.71 meters, 2.33 feet, whereas 6 meters is required, 19.69 feet. The variance requested would recognize the existing non-complying dwelling with a reduced rear front yard setbacks. Variance would further permit a second floor addition to the existing dwelling that would maintain the existing front yard setbacks of 1.58 meters, 1.18 feet, and 0.71 meters, 2.33 feet along the southern property boundary. Other applications, the property subject to this application for minor variance is not currently the subject of other applications under the Planning Act. So Marlene.
Yes.
Tell the committee members your exact plans here.
So the idea, this house is 750 square feet. It's a very small house. And we would like to add a second floor. We are grandparents now. We don't have a house to receive our family, have meetings and our grandchildren, right? So that's our dream, to have the bedrooms upstairs and have a nice space here downstairs to receive our family.
Okay. Questions from committee members? Suzanne?
Just for clarity, I got kind of lost where it said the 7 additional buildings. I got lost. So I think what I'm reading as part of the recommendations is that everything would be cleaned up if the application does move forward with the second floor dwelling, which makes sense.
Yes, because it's all the building material that is covered. We've been planning this since 2 years, so we thought we were going to build before, and we had to cover all that.
Okay, so the intention then is to put on a second story and all of the extra stuff goes away.
Go away, yes.
Thank you. That's
Mark, any questions?
That's exactly my question too, that a lot of that would be removed. So.
Les?
I guess only 3 buildings will be allowed because they were the ones prior to 2003-60 bylaw. Is that correct?
That's correct. So upon review of the structures that are existing, the bylaw, 2003 bylaw permits a maximum of 2 detached accessory structures. But because these structures appear to have been existing prior to that bylaw coming into effect, the way that the conditions are worded are essentially what they had prior to that 2003 bylaw is permitted to remain, and anything that came after, which is limited to the 2 structures, is not permitted to remain, because then they would be exceeding that maximum calculation there. So exactly like you've noted, it's conditioned so that the additional structures after 2003 are conditioned to be removed.
And you guys have verified which ones are existing and which ones are to be removed?
That's correct. So within, I think it's the 3rd page of the staff report, there's a little figure there, and that screenshot is taken from the aerial image from 2002. And it's clear in that image the structures that are existing. And going on the most recent images that we have, and based on the site visit that was conducted earlier last week, the additional structures would be the ones that are not specifically mentioned, but are conditioned to be removed after.
Thanks.
John, any questions?
None at this time.
So looking at some of the plans that have been prepared by, trying to see who prepared all these designs, but this appears to be a very old cottage.
Yeah.
Is the foundation sound enough to support a second story?
You're asking me? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes, we contacted the engineer and she designed like pillars to strengthen the foundation, and she said it was fine.
Okay.
She did put it in the drawings.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right here. Look like proposing a bunch of different supports, potential supports for the foundation for this. Any other questions from committee members?
Is NVCA involved with this one or no?
Yes, yes, we have the permit.
It doesn't. Oh, okay, good. You've already done that.
Okay, good. Joel, has anybody written in or called in regarding this application?
I did have one registration to attend, and I see Marina, you are in attendance here. Not sure if you did have any comments to be provided, but if you did have anything that you'd like to make mention to the committee, now's your chance to put those comments forward.
Hi, everybody. I'm the neighbor closest to the highway. I don't have any concerns about it. I just want to make sure that my privacy isn't affected by the build with the height of it going up, but I don't think that it will because it's not excessively tall as far as a building goes. Otherwise, I was just basically tuning in to get information as to what was going on.
Or Marina, you're located at the top end of the street?
I am. I'm the second lot in from the highway, so I'm at 10 Middlebrook Road.
Okay, so yeah, if I recall, there's a Middlebrook kind of goes down towards the lake, right? So
That's correct.
this building would be it's actually lower than.
Yeah,
your building.
and like
Okay.
I'm not experienced in looking at building plans, and I had my brother look at it, and he said over the weekend, and he said there shouldn't be any issues. I just am trying to just keep up with what's happening on the street, so it's in line of kind of what's aesthetically is sort of what's going on, and it's not a monster oversized build happening, which I don't imagine that they would anyways.
Well, from what I've seen so far in the pictures and drawings, it's going to be a vast improvement in what's there today. So I think
Yeah,
you should be generally pleased as a neighbor there.
yeah, no, and I hope to do something similar one day too, so. No, and that's all I have, so I thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from any other folks, Joel?
So other than that, planning staff have not received any comments in support of or opposed to this application for variance.
Okay, so we'll close off the formal part of the meeting, and any other further discussion among committee members before we put a motion forward?
Can I ask a question? And it goes back to what the earlier application. So one of the conditions is that the 7 detached accessory buildings are removed. At what time frame does that fall under?
So essentially, the way that the conditions work is that a building permit will not be released up until the conditions being fulfilled. So that's what should have taken place in the application that you're referring to. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Good question, Suzanne. Okay, I see nothing else. So do we have a committee member to move this application forward?
I'll move the application forward.
Moved by Suzanne Ryu, and a seconder.
I can second it.
Seconded by John Smay. Okay, so we can now vote on this application. Les?
I support the applications with the conditions as indicated.
And Mark?
In favor with the recommendations.
And Suzanne?
I'm in favor of the application with the recommendations as noted.
And John?
In favor of the application along with the recommendations as noted.
I've asked Marlene if she is familiar with the recommendations that the planning department has. Have you seen them?
Yes,
Okay, and you're okay with all of them?
yes.
Okay, great. So I too support the application. In fact, the committee approves application A02-22, subject to the following conditions being applied. 1, that all other provisions of the zoning bylaw be complied with. 2, that any future development on the policy on the subject lot will adhere to the current town of Wasaga Beach standards and policies, specifically the infill lot grading and drainage policy. 3, that the construction of the dwelling be consistent with what was shown on the plans provided, Appendix 1. 4, that the applicant remove the 7 detached accessory buildings that were constructed after 2003, and that the permitted accessory buildings to remain are consistent with the buildings shown in figures 1 through 4 within the staff report. Number 5, that a road occupation permit be taken out for any works within the right of way. Your committee, your application has been approved. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so as that ends today's committee meeting, need